Thank you again for joining us for another episode of Team Talk. We are so elated that you have decided to come back and join us once again. We are so thrilled to be able to give our community more information and practical tools for their relationship to become a better team. We're going to equip you, empower you, and then you can do what you need to do for your relationship. So today we are going to be discussing what we call DCI peeled back.
Yes, DCI.
Yes.
What is DCI?
I don't think they know, but we're going to have to tell them.
We're going to have to peel that onion back?
Yeah, we're going to peel that onion back.
All right.
So come on, get your tools, get your pen, your paper, your iPad, whatever you use to take notes, because we are getting ready to dive in and give you some principles that I know is going to be very valuable for your relationship. So, Mr. B, let's go.
So you're asking, what is DCI? What are y'all talking about? DCI is destructive, constructive, and instructive criticism. That's right. DCI, destructive, constructive, instructive. We're going to break down the one type of criticism that you do not need to have in your relationships. But then we're going to highlight and dig a little deeper into the two that is going to be beneficial for your relationships.
Yes, so we're going to start with the definition of destructive. So destructive criticism, of course, everybody knows it is something that is of a negative connotation to it. Well, it doesn't have anything good to it anyway, but it's a negative thing that we have a tendency as couples to do sometimes. One, it brings about harm for the individual in the relationship. It also undermines them. And then it offends them in a vague and non-specific way. They're probably wondering, what do I mean by that, right?
In layman's terms, you want to break it down?
In layman's terms,
it is very judgmental. It's fault-finding. It destroys the self-esteem of your mate. Oftentimes, when we use destructive criticism, we're not offering any suggestions.
Right.
We're not offering any help. All we're doing is demonetizing. I don't know if that's even a word there.
You made it up.
Yeah, but we're eliminating the thought process or the perspective that our mate had.
Okay, so I'll break it down even more so in layman's terms. I'll use for an example. If I called you stupid or said, Roderick, doggone it, that situation that you made a decision on was the most dumbest thing that you ever did. You effed up again.
You fault-finded.
Okay, hold on. I actually looked at more of your personal attributes more so than your action.
True, but you are finding fault. That's the whole portion of the destructive criticism. You're finding fault. You're not giving any good kudos to what they did. You're just saying that was wrong, that was dumb, you had no thought process in what you just did.
So basically you're telling me that we went into, just quickly, untreaded related territory because that had nothing to do with you per se.
It could still have everything to do with the individual.
I was wondering if you
but the whole portion of it is, like you just said, you saw something that I just did. I just got finished. Let's say, for instance, I put up a picture on the wall, okay? And I did not take the time to do like I would normally probably do, measure it out, and I just hastily put it up there. And in doing so, I bashed a hole in the wall. And here you come around the corner, you say, well, that's good. You just criticize. Or, well, if you would have took your time,
That sounds like something I would have said. So sometimes destructive criticism can also have a little cynicism inside of there, and sarcasm.
Much sarcasm. Yeah.
Well, help me, Jesus.
Remember, you're not building up the esteem of your mate.
Right.
You're diminishing their self-esteem because you are coming at them. It's not helpful.
So we're actually going against the very thing that God has called us as husbands and wives to do, is to help build one another up. So destructive criticism does not do anything.
No, it's not edifying at all.
Not edifying.
It's nothing that beneficial for either one of you to get out of it. You may feel it was beneficial, as the giver, because you're
getting it off your chest.
Getting off your chest, or you're saying what you really thought about in the moment. And we'll talk about this a little bit later on in the session. Sometimes it's about timing.
Yeah, don't hold up.
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
go
I'm not
too
going to
far
jump into.
that.
I'm not going to jump into it, but we'll hit that later.
We want to really emphasize on the destructive criticism, because as couples, not couples, but coaches, we see and hear a lot of this destructive criticism that goes on between couples. Mm-hmm. And so this is an area where we believe that couples really need to dig and dive into deeper so they can take away these characteristics to be able to have a better relationship.
Yes.
So I really want to hone in on that, because there's something you just said about emotions, because our emotions, depending on how and where they are at that time, it dictates whether they get constructive criticism or destructive criticism.
Where you're at in your life,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to be even more specific, where you're at in your walk with God. The way you value yourself as an individual
come on now.
will dictate how you value your mate. If you highly esteem and value yourself,
yes.
you're going to give your mate wonderful words. Even if it's something that needs to be a check for them, you will give them constructive or instructional, which we're going to get into in a minute, criticism. Mm-hmm. You're not giving them damaging. You're not giving them destructive. You're not unedifying them. You're not discouraging them. Mm-hmm. So the way you value yourself tells a lot about the type of criticism that you're offering.
Not only that, when you value yourself, you also will be careful of how you interpret things when it comes to criticism to your spouse. And what I mean by that is, if your spouse has made a mistake,
yes,
you will have a little bit more compassion towards them instead of being so quick to be judgmental and use destructive criticism.
Especially if you've been on the receiving end, you will understand it.
Been there.
Yeah.
Been there several times, and even in our own relationship, because we ourselves have done a lot of destructive
we treaded
heavily in destructive criticism, because there were things that we were criticizing each other about that we probably were not satisfied with within ourselves.
Yes, no, probably we were
not satisfied with ourselves. So that's really good, because when we're not satisfied with ourselves, as you stated earlier, we'll project that onto our mate and don't even realize it. And we did that quite a bit.
Yes.
Just going back and forth. But wow.
Thank God.
Jeez.
Thank God.
Thank goodness.
So since you're hitting it right now, some of the dangers of destructive criticism in your relationships. I want to touch that real quick.
Yeah.
We already talked about it breeds poor marital performance, but it also breeds poor marital decisions. When you are on the recipient end of hearing constant destructive criticism, it may diminish your ability to make decisions. You may be hesitant.
Right.
And I'm not going to speak for you, but you shared that with me as we were preparing for this lesson, that when I was doing that to you a lot, giving you destructive criticism, all the, and
you jacked up my self-esteem.
And did it jack up your decision making?
Yes, because a lot of my decision making at that time, mind you, this was years ago, was really predicated upon the destructive criticism that you gave me. And I'll use for an example, if you constantly gave me that type of criticism, it made me decide, okay, forget this crap. I'm going to go over here and have conversations with other persons that is going to treat me more valuable than I'm being treated at home.
Treat you more valuable.
Yes.
Wow.
So you can sometimes get so into a pattern and cycle of destructive criticism because that's all you know, and thinking that you're really loving on your spouse, when actually you're pushing your spouse away.
Wow. So it increased the stress level in the relationship dynamic.
it increased the stress level, and it destroyed bit by bit, just tacking at the lack of trust that I had.
You said a key thing that attacking. It makes you felt attacked.
Yep.
And I made you feel attacked, insufficient, as well as angry.
Oh, I was very angry.
Yes.
And it's something because for me, many people look at me and say, but like, oh my God, I didn't realize that you were like that, and this and the other. Yes, I was, because I was one of those individuals that internalized my anger, internalized everything, but yet my actions were so opposite. My actions were, I won't say necessarily opposite. I was internalizing it, but externally, my decisions were actually mirroring my internal issues that I was having, if that makes sense.
Wow, yes, it does.
So
That speaks volumes.
the anger, the pain, the resentment of all the destructive criticism on the inside that I never sometimes spoke about, I did it in
You acted it out.
in my actions.
Yes. And I received it back twofold, because
Yes.
after you got to a point, you started giving it back to me.
Oh, was I? I was like, I
Yeah.
can't do that. Anyway, I was doing one of these numbers.
Yes, you
like,
were.
yes, I'm going to give
Double
it back
barrels
to you.
loaded.
Yes. And so the other thing that it actually did with the destructive criticism, it definitely impacted our sex life.
Yes, it did.
How
Which it also
in the world?
impacted the emotional
Yes.
portion of our relationship, as well as the communication portion. Reason why we didn't have good communication at all.
Because it was more destructive than it was anything else. And we were, like I said, going back and forth so much. And we talk about it in so many of our episodes. And we do that because we want people to understand we do not want you all to go through the same cycles that we went through and take as long as we took to get out of those cycles. This is why God placed upon our hearts to help other couples, so you don't have to walk that same life and get out of it. If you're in it, get out of it. And if you're engaged, make sure that when you walk into a relationship and you bring somebody into your life, that these are areas that you do not impact them negatively.
Right. Recognize them while you're only dating.
Ooh.
Recognize it while you're engaged, you're courting,
Yes.
and address it, deal with it, confront it.
Yes.
That's something that we do when we have our premarital sessions with folks. We identify these red flags, and we help
red
them
flags.
find a way to talk about it and get resolution on it.
Yeah. And the other area that destructive criticism does not work in, you thinking that destructive criticism is going to change the behavior of your spouse. It does not do that. It makes it worse.
Yeah, more damaging.
Yes. Because the individual could walk away and you're just left to wonder why. The individual could just choose to go off in anger. And anger can show up in so many shapes and forms. And so
retaliation.
Oh my goodness, we ain't even went there. Retaliation.
She messed up a good plate of grits, y'all. One time she retaliated on me.
Oh, yes, I did.
Because I gave her some destructive criticism. Came back into the apartment, getting ready to eat my grits that I just made, and a whole gangload of salt was in them. I mean, so salty.
Yes,
I couldn't eat them. A good plate of grits.
I sure did. Simply because of what you said. That was the reaction you got from me. So I was like, oh, he is going to pay for what he said to me.
Trying to give me high blood pressure.
Well, anyway, yes, at that particular time.
All right, so moving on. Constructive criticism. This is a building up.
Yep.
This is an edifying type of criticism. This is a criticism that you want to operate in more times than not in your relationship, because you want to be constantly building and edifying your mate, your spouse. Yeah. It puts you in a place of offering a different perspective.
Not only offering a different perspective, but it allows you as a spouse to show a level of respect for your other spouse's feelings.
I like that. Intention for
Intentionality.
offering help for improvement. Intention for offering help for improvement. I had to say that a second time.
And support.
Yes.
Because in a team, you take one another's advice.
Mm-hmm.
You support one another in the team
Mm-hmm.
because you have the same objective.
Yes.
And in our objective in the team, we want to win. We want to be the best individually and collectively. So constructive criticism will do just that.
Yes.
But you as an individual have to be opened to the constructive criticism.
And I like that you brought that out with the analogy of the team, because using that from a sports arena, if a player, and I don't care how talented you are, you can be the best player on the field. But if the coach comes and offers you another perspective, like you just said, you have to be willing to take it in. Now, if you're willing to take it in, it'll help you improve your game. It'll help you improve a move. It'll help you improve your performance.
That's good.
Yes, it is.
That's real good.
It's a win-win.
Yes. If we're operating in constructive criticism and open to the constructive criticism. I love that. And constructive criticism does not pass judgment.
No, it doesn't.
It leads to, it doesn't pass judgment, but it leads to growth and an evolving of the individual.
Growth and evolving. Progression.
Forward progression.
Yes, progression.
That is what you always want to experience in your relationship. If your relationship is not going anywhere, you have to question yourself and your spouse. Do we have a vision? Where are we going? What are we doing?
And that's why we call this ministry Marriage Evolves, because it should be constantly progressing.
Yes.
And in progressing, you're constantly evolving, constantly improving your communication, your way of expressing yourself verbally, non-verbally.
The way you think.
Yes.
We need thinking people in relationships, because thinking people produce thinking children.
Ooh, come on now. Now, you touched on something right there when you say thinking people produce thinking children.
Yeah.
Because what we're talking about right now, the way you communicate in your relationship, for those of you who already have kids, or for those of you, when you get married, you're going to have kids, your way of communicating is a prime example of what your children are watching and learning from. So as they get older, you ask, well, where did they get that from? You know exactly where they got it from.
Exactly.
They observed it from you and your spouse, how y'all got along, how y'all communicated.
Would they say the apple does not fall too far from the tree?
No, because we're the first teachers at home.
Yes, we are.
So if you want to leave a better legacy, if you want to leave a better footprint and imprint on the minds and the hearts of your children,
yes,
I don't care what age level they are at,
yep,
provide the best source of teaching to them. Provide the best source of an example to them in how you communicate.
Well, let's kind of deviate just a little bit. And if you haven't been the best example for your children, there is always room for anybody to change and to grow. It's not a bad thing when you apologize to your spouse or even to your children if you have not been the best example. What we need to do in relationships is humble ourselves. Humble ourselves to the point to say, I wasn't the best. I only was doing what I knew at that particular time. But when you know to do good and you don't do good,
the book says that's sin.
That is sinful. Exactly. Even in relationships. So, I'm not going to even go no further than that because we can go into a whole nother subject when it comes to that.
But since you brought that in there.
But this is constructive criticism.
But since you brought that portion up in, that's a great segue into the next one, which is instructive criticism.
Ooh.
So in instructive criticism, just like it says, you are adding knowledge to what your spouse already knows.
So you're telling me that because if I know something, all you're doing, let me kind of take this a different direction. I already know how to do hair and how to do finger waves and all of that because I went to school to do all of that. But if you come and say, well, babe, why don't you try it this way? Because it might be more efficient and effective if you use this certain product and if you do it this way, because your arm gets a certain way when you do it. And I'm looking at you like, babe, wait a minute. You don't know nothing about no hair. You haven't done a finger wave in your lifetime. I am just basically tearing down the ideas of your instructive criticism to help me do better at what I believe I can do good in already. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Because remember, like you said earlier, you have to be willing. You have to be willing to accept the information that's being offered to you.
Even if I'm a pro in that area.
Even if you're a pro in that area. Just like I gave the example earlier, you can be the best player on the team. You can be an all-pro player. But when the coach gives you some instruction, or if he gives you some constructive criticism, it's up to you to accept it. That's going to help you be that much better. And just like we were just saying a minute ago, in the instructive portion, all you're doing is adding. You got the knowledge. Just adding some more insight to what you already have.
Yeah.
And I'm not just adding more insight. I'm giving explicit instructions to you on how to implement it.
Hold on a second. Well, and I'm just thinking about this in my head because I'm very visual when it comes to certain things. I can just visualize some particular women or men saying, well, how in the world could you come and instruct me when you haven't done it your doggone self? Or either you haven't made the best decisions in this relationship either. Mm-hmm. You instructed me on what?
That last part you just said. You haven't made the best decisions either. To kind of battle, going back into that destruction portion. But I want to just stay there right there. You haven't made the best decisions either. Okay, fine. That may be true. However, at this juncture right now, at this moment, I see what it is that you're working on, what you're doing, and I have additional information I want to offer you that's going to help you do it even better.
That's good.
Granted, my track record ain't been the greatest, but I believe that what I have to offer you right now is going to help get you over the top for what you're doing.
Because I value you. I value you and I want to see you grow as an individual. Even though I may not do the best at this thing, but I want to see the best out of my teammate, which is you.
I want to you want to offer positive reinforcement to your mate, and who does not want to welcome positive reinforcement? Because granted, we can always have moments that we can do things, we can make decisions, but every now and again, it's good to have positive reinforcement.
I agree.
It's good to have that attaboy. It's good to have that, that edifying word coming from your spouse.
So I'm going to be a little bit of the devil's advocate right here. And I'm not trying to be on the devil's side, but I'm going to be the advocate on this one. What if somebody is out there that says, well, my spouse's corrective criticism.
You mean constructive?
Constructive criticism, sounds just as much as destructive criticism.
Well, I would say, ask yourself the question, is it edifying or is it building you up? You're saying how it sounds. It may be their delivery. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen to what's being said, not so much how it may be said. If it's edifying you and building you up, then you know it's not destructive.
But it sounds the same to me.
Is it edifying? I get you.
But the reason why I say it sounds the same to me, because somewhere, something or someone said something to me that made me feel insecure. So now any type of instructive or constructive criticism brings me back to that point.
But once again, and I have to stay here, is it building you up? Is it offering reinforcement? Is it positive information that's being given to you?
Right. I got you. I'm just trying to hit all avenues and cover every area because we've seen it with various couples that we have counseled over the years. And so you don't want to just think it's one way when it could be another way. Now, when it comes to the destructive criticism, if it is abusive in any kind of way, mentally, physically, or emotionally, you doggone well better get yourself up out of there.
Yes. We don't want to play around with that.
We don't play
all.
around with
No,
that stuff.
No, not at all.
But if it's like my husband said, something that is going to build you and make you a better person, let's all do better, because if we know to do better and we don't do better, that's a problem.
Yes, it is.
And it's not a good thing, because God says we ought to do better when we learn better.
If you think about it in this aspect as well, and just to go along with the point that you were making, Jesus was talking to the Pharisees, and they were coming at him like they always did, trying to bring up some stuff to try to get him at a fault. And he had to explain to them, it's not what goes in a person that defiles them, it's what comes out. Let me say that one more time. It's not what goes in a person that defiles you. It's not what you eat. It's not all these different things. It's what comes out, because what comes out of the mouth flows from the belly, flows from the heart.
Okay, so now you got me thinking about something else, where it says life and death
is in the power of your tongue.
Power of your tongue.
Do I need to bring out the book? Yeah,
wait a minute. Hold on a second.
Go ahead. You
life and death is in the power of your tongue.
Yes.
So that means you have to take self accountability for those darts that you have thrown out that in turn ended up hurting not just you, but your whole team.
Yes.
So that means you have to be willing to look at yourself. We always talk about this because you can't blame the other person for your reaction. You have to look at it from your own eyes.
Yes. So I just want to hit it up since we bring it out.
Oh,
Matthew 15:11. That's what we were just talking about. It's not what goes in a person, but what comes out that defiles him. And then you were just talking about life and death being in the power of the tongue. And I want to say that's in James, but we're going to bring it up real quick here. And that
is so good.
Yes, it is. It is. Because our words, whether we realize it or not, builds life or destroys. God gave us the same ability that he has. When he created us, human beings, he gave us the same ability. When he blew his spirit into us, he gave us the same ability to speak life. That's why it's really it's important that we're careful with our words, thinking before you speak, and really allowing yourself to say, okay, if what I have to say, not only is it important, but am I doing this to help somebody, or am I just doing it because I just want to get off my chest what I want to say?
Or just randomly talking.
Yes. And then the other portion of it is we have to understand too, sometimes it's not the right time. It doesn't matter if it even is the right thing to say. It may not be the right time to say it.
That's a whole nother thing.
Yes, it is.
Because we got to be mindful of the timing.
Yes.
Because you could bring about destructive criticism at a time where your spouse is feeling at their lowest and can lead to another action that you will regret. Whether that could be divorce, leaving you behind, separation, them hurting themselves, because there are people out here hurting themselves in various ways because of words that people have said to them, or either because of what their spouse has said or done to them.
Yes.
That right there is so valuable. And yes, if you are a person who has always been uncontrollable with your tongue, you can learn how to discipline your tongue in a manner that is more constructive for yourself and your relationship. You can always change. Just like our weather changes, we can change. Just like you change your child's diaper because they got poop all over them.
Well, you're giving me some good analogies. Because
I'm telling you.
You want to get rid of that stink.
If you want to get rid of that because it's uncomfortable for your child.
It's uncomfortable for you to smell it.
It's uncomfortable, but yet you take the time because you see the need there to change that diaper.
So that baby stop crying, so they be comfortable. Yes.
That's right. So they can be more comfortable. Why don't we take that same care when it comes to our spouse?
That's a good one. Changing that diaper. Getting rid of all that external mess.
Yes. And you're so careful with it. You get and you singing when you're doing it too. Oh my goodness, look at you, baby. Look at the little baby. And then taking the wipe and wiping their butt off and everything.
Yes.
But do we take that same care to wipe that mess from our spouse? Do we do that?
So
with constructive, instructive criticism, or are we constantly being destructive, criticizing?
So I just wanted to circle back real quick before I forget the scripture, because you brought it out about life and death being in the power of the tongue. And I found it here in Proverbs 18:21. The tongue can bring death or life. This is the New Living Translation. The tongue can bring death or life. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences.
Wait a minute. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences.
Yes.
Good
or bad. Yes, yeah. That's it.
Whether constructive or destructive, you're going to reap something. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I don't even know what to say on top of that one. That says it enough.
It is. It really does. It really does. I mean, once again, if we take the time out to evaluate what we're getting ready to tell our mate, is it going to help them in this situation? If is it going to build them up? Is it going to reduce stress in our relationship dynamic? Then we're going to be giving them constructive criticism. We're going to give them something that's going to build and help, not just them, but also ourselves. The way we view and value ourselves is going to convey in our words.
And it's going
if we highly esteem and value ourselves, we want to highly esteem and value our mate, we're going to give them things that's going to constantly help them improve and progress, which is going to help our relationship improve and progress, which is going to stem off into what our children see.
Wait a minute, now I got one for you. But what if I'm a spouse that does not want my spouse to grow because I like them where they are because I'm comfortable?
That's a whole other issue and a whole other session.
I'm comfortable with my spouse just where they are, how they treat me, because it has become the norm.
No, you got to change that. You got to change that. No, that's not a good norm.
I know it's not a good norm.
You should never. You want to be, like Paul says, you want to be content. Learn to be content in whatever situation you're in, but don't be comfortable. Because you always should be self-improving.
But that's just the way they are. That's just how my husband or my wife is. They always talk to me that way, or they always do that.
That's another session.
Right.
Yeah,
that's really
another session. Because I'm sitting there thinking, I was like, oh, well, we're going to go over our time.
Yes.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're just going to have
We're going to press pause on that last thing that she said there, y'all.
Yes.
Yeah.
But on that note,
yes,
we will come back again, possibly for a part 2.
Yeah.
Or either we're going
just
to
a whole nother session.
a whole nother subject.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think today we tackled peeling back enough on dealing with destructive, constructive, and instructive criticism.
DCI.
DCI. And we know, I was going to say hope, but we know that if you listen to this, this has added to your life. And it's going to help you as you implement it and apply it on a consistent basis. It's going to help you in your way you relate with each other.
It's also going to help you in how you respond and react when an individual in your relationship says something to you or acts a certain way, whether it's constructive or destructive, because it will determine how you respond.
Yes.
So let me tell you, my friends, Thank you so much for watching another episode of Team Talk, and thank you for watching the rebroadcast. We so enjoyed you this evening, and we want to thank you again for following us on Instagram, Facebook, and our YouTube channel, where you can hit that notification button and make sure that you know exactly when we're going live once again, or when we have posted a new video just for you, because we love our community.
Yes, we do.
You guys make us feel so loved.
We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the community.
Not at all. Not at all.
Your support means a whole lot to us.
Yes.
And we thank you.
As we always say,
we're two
hearts, one team with one purpose.